Hey guys, my name is Anthony and in today's video we're going to be looking over my highlights for the Austrian Grand Prix on LCR European Championship. So getting into it now. I know I've not really been posting a lot of league racing highlight videos recently, and the main reason for that is because, well, my league racing has not really been going all that good recently, to be completely honest with you. I still have all the footage, so I do plan on making a video basically showcasing what happened. A lot of it was down to my own error, but there were, you know, one or two incidences where it wasn't really my fault. It was just wrong place, wrong time, really. But getting into this one now, I was fairly confident, to be fair, because Austria is one of my stronger tracks. It's one of the ones where I feel the most confident on. And, you know, to be fair, a lot of the people who were supposed to be in this race weren't going to be in this race for various reasons. But, you know, I still wanted to come in and do the best I can. So right now we're setting a banker lap. As you can see, after the first couple of corners, it's going okay. You know, there's still a little bit of room for improvement there. As you can see on that exit, we basically ran over that curb. You don't want to run over that curb on the exit of that. So yeah, you can see now I'm about to say during the live stream that this wasn't really the best banker lap that I was hoping for. Okay, this banker's not going to be the best. So yeah, pretty much basically banker laps for me during practice was around about a 1 minute 4.7, 1 minute 4.8, and that was a 1 minute 5.2, so I know I could do a lot better than that. So I decided to actually go for another run on these tyres, and coming into the end of that lap now, you can see we're doing a lot better. We're up by, I want to say 4 or 5 tenths now, as we come in to do I think it's a 1 minute 4.6, so it was about 6 tenths up on our previous time. So at that point I thought, you know what, pace is looking okay, the one that place is looking okay. My PB around here is a 1 minute 4.1, so you know, the goal for me in qualifying was literally just to get as close to my personal best as possible. As you can see, we were purple in both sector 1 and sector 2 in this lap, but because we ran a little bit wide going into the end of sector 2, we sort of lost quite a lot of time there. So because of that, we didn't quite make it into pole position, but we were still second, and we did improve to a 1 minute 4.5. But coming into this last lap, I did something that was really suicidal. I actually went for 3 ones on this last set of tyres. So I'm going to leave it here because this last run was the actual quickest run of the qualifying session for me. So this is a lap of Austria. So as we come up to the final corner now, there's still a little bit of time that I could have had on that lap, but you know, we are improving. So we come across the line, we were the last person to cross the line, and we got 3rd place. So sadly we didn't actually improve our position, but we did improve our time to a 1 minute 4.4. So I mean, at the end of the day, I guess it doesn't really mean much that I improved my time if I didn't improve my position, and nobody else seemed to improve because I was the last person across the line anyway. So not really much I can say to that. I probably shouldn't have finished that lap because now I'm on quite old tyres, as you can see the strategy there, which is just a standard soft to medium strategy. But I was actually on pretty worn out tyres, considering, because usually you would only do 1, maybe 2 laps on a set of soft tyres during qualifying, but we actually did 3. So because of that, you know, I was a bit cautious of when we were going to pit, which our strategy was, we were going to pit on lap 12, I think. Yeah, lap 12, because I'm pretty sure that was the strategy I seen. As we got a poor start there, you see the McLaren pretty much overtook us straight away, and you know, we went wide going into turn 1. But you know, the Toro Rosso there, I'm not really sure what he was doing, but he bumped into us. But getting back into what I was saying, yeah, when it came to the tyres, I wasn't sure exactly what lap I was going to pit now, because those tyres were already significantly worn compared to everybody else's. I didn't know if I could last the 12 laps, but I decided to go with it anyway and just try and get to as close to lap 12 as I can, and just really try and keep up with the front runners, because the goal of this sort of race for me was to try and get to the front of the midfield at least. I didn't really think that I could run with the front runners coming into it, but after qualifying, as you can see, Leighton actually almost crashed into us, which would have been the second week in a row. Obviously you guys have not seen the French Grand Prix footage yet, but he did take us out in the first corner in that one, not of his own fault, but almost the second week in a row that we were taken out by him. But getting back into what I was saying now, I actually forgot what I was saying now, to be honest with you. But I think we was talking about my goals for this race, yeah. So after qualifying, pretty much, I thought, you know what, I could actually run with the front runners here, because my one lap pace was pretty decent, and I obviously in practice my race pace was pretty decent around here. As I said, it is one of my stronger tracks, so you know, I was a little bit more confident coming into the race than I was qualifying. But as you can see, the two front runners here, they were pretty quick, especially after round 3 when DRS was activated. You know, it was pretty much just DRS training each other. And as you guys know, when it comes to F1 2019, after, you know, the third lap, if you're not within the DRS zone, it's going to be pretty difficult for you to really keep up with the people who are in a DRS train. But to be fair, we were doing fairly well, as Astro made a little bit of a mistake there, so you know, gave us a little bit of an opportunity to try and catch up. But we didn't actually get into the DRS zone until lap 8, or the end of lap 8, or lap 9, whichever one it is. Can't really see on Sony Vegas. But yeah, we did have pretty good pace, because you know, you can see we're still keeping up with the front two, even though they've got DRS on each other. And you can see we've got a huge gap now to the Toro Rosso behind us. I'm not really sure what the gap is at this point in the race, but I think it's something like 6 seconds or something like that. It's something ridiculous, you know, considering it's only been 9 laps. But yeah, we were driving really well. You know, not really much else to say other than we were driving pretty well, and we managed to somewhat keep up with the two front runners, even though they were driving very, very well. And obviously with the DRS training, you know, they're obviously going to get that extra little boost. We're coming into lap 10 now. At this point, I was a little bit skeptical about how the tyres were doing. They still actually felt great in terms of the wheel, but yeah, pretty much I wasn't really all that sure, to be fair, because I think at that point in time the tyres were about 40 or 50% wear. So coming into lap 12 now, what I actually did is I just stayed out with the two front runners, because I just wanted to keep with the two front runners as long as I could. So that's why I didn't actually pit on lap 12 like I originally did, as I checked to see what my tyre was there. I think it was like 60, nearly 70% at that point. But in hindsight, looking into things, especially of how the race ended, I probably should have pitted on lap 12, because if I had pitted on lap 12 like I had originally wanted to, I could have gotten the undercut on, I think it was the Renault, and I think the Renault's in front now. Yeah, the Renault's in front now, and the McLaren's just in front of me, so I could have undercut the both of them, to be fair, if I had pitted on lap 12. But at the time, I really just wanted to stick with them as closely as I could. And with the McLaren being right in front of me now, I was thinking at this point in time, I'm going to do whatever the McLaren does. So if he stays out, I'm staying out. If he goes in, I'm going in. As we're about to lap, I think it was the Alfa Romeo, but he wasn't there. I think he left after like the first lap or something like that. But as you can see, the McLaren went in, so I decided to follow him and go in. But one thing I didn't realise that was going to happen during this pit stop is, sadly, we got held by, I think it was like a second or half a second there, because even though we were slightly behind them going into the pit stop and we didn't stop them, as you can see, yeah, they stopped us for, I think it was literally like half a second or a second that we lost. But you know, when it comes to the pit stops, you really don't want to be losing any time. And coming out of the pits, I didn't really know where to brake without, you know, crashing straight into that barrier there, so I did go pretty slow into it. But yeah, you can see we lost a lot of time there to the guys in front. As you can see, the McLaren is pretty much caught back up with the Renault now, so they're DRS training each other again. But you know, to be fair, the pace on the mediums, after a couple of laps now, we're on lap 16, I really was confident in my pace on the mediums. I was actually more confident with my pace on the mediums than I was for the softs. And I did watch a video a long time ago, I forgot the guy who made the video, but he was in he was racing with like Jarno Opmeer and stuff like that, and he was basically saying how some setups actually, as you can see the McLaren there, he actually stopped. What happened, I think he ran a bit too deep into turn 1 and actually span out, so you know, that pretty much gave us a free P2. But going back to what I was saying, I think he said that some setups are actually better suited for different tyres, and I think my setup clearly was suited for the medium tyres because our pace was really nice, as we're gonna come up to the fastest lap of the race for me now. So turn 1, you pretty much want to brake at the 100-meter board and sort of cut the corner, but not too much. Obviously strict rules, you don't want to cut the corner or else you can get a warning or a penalty. But coming into turn 2, or technically turn 3, you want to brake at the 100-meter board, make sure that you're straight, and then shift down to first gear at the apex, and then you want to short shift as quickly as possible to third gear just to basically get that traction. So coming into this corner now after the DRS straight, you want to brake again at the 100-meter board, and then you want to clip that curb on the inside, but you don't want to clip the curb on the outside because you will lose time. And then we've got these two left-handers. You want to go wide and then basically sweep back in, and then get the power down as quickly as possible. Basically on both of these corners you want to do that. So you know, Austria is not really a long track, so you don't really want to try and lose as much time when it comes to that. But coming into the last two corners, you want to go wide and then basically sweep in just like you did the last two corners, and then shift down to fourth gear, and then just put the power on pretty much straight away, as we got 1 minute 7.5, which actually was, I think it was a little bit quicker than what I was doing in practice. So honestly, I was really happy with how I was performing here. As you can see, we're trying to really chase down Astra at this point. I think he's 3 seconds ahead of us at this point, and this is lap 28 now, so we've only got 6 laps to go, and I was really wanting to chase him down to try and get that race win, because you know, I've never really had a race win in league racing, and I've never really had a podium, so I was really wanting to get that race win. So I was trying my best to just chase him down, and at this point we didn't really have a lot of ERS and fuel. I pretty much used the ERS and fuel mix as best as I could, really, to be honest, because by this time period we were pretty much low on everything. As I'm checking to see how far he was in front of me now, because we're on the 34th lap by this point, and we were slowly catching him up, and I was really starting to get a little bit nervous at this point, because I was thinking to myself, hold on, I could actually get the race win, because my pace was really quick compared to Astro's. You can see the time just was going down, and I think at this point now I'm going to stay on board for the rest of the race. Coming into this corner now after the DRS straight, this was one of my favourite corners, but here I made a slight mistake shifting down, and I accidentally double shift into first gear. I was not happy about that because I almost spun the car out, but luckily we managed to control it. And you know, at this point I did think it was race over, but at the same time, you know, you never know what could happen. The last lap he could have gotten a penalty, because at this point me and Astro didn't have any penalties. I had 2 warnings. I'm not sure how many warnings he had at this point, but he could have gotten a penalty on the last lap, so I really wanted to keep as close to him as possible. But I wanted to show you this last lap because, you know, it really shows the difference in pace between me and Astro, because we were on the same freshness of tyres. We pit at the same lap, and at the start of the lap I think I was 1.4 seconds behind him. Yeah, I think I was 1.4 seconds behind him coming into the first turn, and coming into the end of the first sector now, I think at this point we was 1.3. I honestly can't see because it's only Vegas, but I think it was 1.3 seconds behind him, and just each and every corner on this track I was just getting closer and closer, and I was really trying to push as much as I can on this final lap. But as you can see, we didn't really have much ERS to push with. So coming into now the end of the second sector now, I want to say we were just over a second. Just waiting here to see what the delta time is. Yeah, I think it was just over a second, or a second and a tenth behind him. And coming into these last 2 corners now, I made so much time. well, not so much time, but I made quite a lot of time just in these last two corners here as we come into the final corner of the race. As sadly, Astro didn't get any penalties, but we came home for second place, just 9 tenths behind him, so we made up 2 tenths in the last two corners alone. And honestly, I don't know what to say, man. It was literally the best driving I'd ever done on F1 2019. I only started league racing in February, and sure, people have come into league racing and have done better than me with their start to league racing, but you know, everybody's different, and the fact that I managed to finally get my first podium in league racing, it was a really good feeling. I was really happy, and you know, it makes me want to try even more. It makes me want to practice even more, just so I can get more podiums and eventually my first race win, because you know, racing competitively is honestly like a drug. So I'm gonna end it here. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're gonna be doing league racing videos in F1 2020 when that comes out. I think LCR the European Championship, it's only got a couple of races to go now. So yeah, I'm gonna do those, and as I said, I'm gonna edit the footage together so that you guys can see what's happened with some of my league racing videos recently. So yeah, I'm pretty much gonna leave it here, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Honestly, I was showing some really good players. Usually, I'm not able to keep up with people like that later, and I wasn't even putting in members list. So, and the fact that